Nope.
Draft Dr. Phil and the smartest man.
Keeping it 100.
Here we go. Trading up.
100.
Yes.
What?
Oh my God. Just reported.
The tape never lies.
Other people drop off, but we still keep rocking.
You'll never know how good your football team's going to be until you play with maximum effort.
Keeping it 100.
Open competition over the North and never give it back. Smartest man.
My Chicago Bears select Justin Fields, quarterback, Ohio State.
Guess who's back? The two dudes that kept it real. Dynamic duo that you love, the smartest man and Dr. Phil. Breaking down the film, never a problem, kick it straight. Most shows focus on stats, we focus on the tape. We keeping it 100, never running east to west. We coming with that truth, cause that's what our fans expect. Cut off the freaking anchor, forward to be free. But don't you worry, Shane's got the dumbest tweets. It ain't no secret, Phil and Shane got some haters. But now they're mouth stuck like the Jew and now and later. Debaters, frauds get kicked like Coach Tabor. Cuts had to be made, we added a barber moderator. Up and down, boys got you double checking. Sad sacks trolling like a fool drunk texting. Flexing on the truth cause you know they'll never change. Real, recognize real, that's what you get with Phil and Jimmy. What's the name? We do when we're breaking down the Bears. Fuck a play or a captain, all of the unfair. The tape never lies. The truth, you see, we laugh, we analyze, so there's no babies like Maybelline. Straight to the truth with acumen and facts. We got a stat nerd, but he's not just giving nerd stats. Car crash, big impact like Trick Sack. Every Wednesday night you got the smartest man and Phil back. Now we know you're smiling like a fat kid with fun dip. We're back better than ever and we keeping it 100.
Keep it 100. Draft Dr. Phil and the smartest man.
Justin Fields gets outside the pocket, puts that ball perfectly where only Mooney can get it.
1 point,
2 feet.
Draft Dr. Phil and the smartest man.
Keeping it 100.
Draft Dr. Phil and the smartest man.
Keeping it 100, baby.
Keep it 100.
Keeping it 100.
Birds never lie.
Yeah, exactly.
This is TTNL's Keeping It 100, the best Bears show on the planet. Marie, I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what's going on. Listen, so the boots were on the ground. The pads were on at training camp. We were there. We're going to tell you all about it. We got a lot to talk about. So let's bring on the man, Shane, the smartest man, Marcel. Dude,
Claude.
This time, I'm looking down. Everybody,
You were a solid 6-7 seconds late on that one.
This is I try to free up memory on the computer and everything. I don't know what the issue is, so we're just gonna have.
It's an urban legend at this point. I was reading some of the comments, and they're like, it's all shtick. They're doing it on purpose because people are laughing.
Exactly.
Like, if they only
listen, as long as they're laughing, as long as they're having a good time, that's all that matters, right? And I mean, we're having a good time and watching the training camp, right? I mean,
you just got to be when we get blessed and start winning and go to the Super Bowl and kick the fucking door in, you know, that Keeping It 100 episode is going to be, you're going to be right on top, man. You're going to,
I'm going to make sure. We'll have a whole season to prepare for that.
Absolutely. But so you were there, Claude. Now how was it? It was
amazing. I mean, first of all, the facilities were amazing. Halas Hall is beautiful. Set up real nice. You know, all these things people can do. The Walter Payton Center was dope. You know, with the field. But the teams was the first day. No pads, was definitely slower pace, obviously. But you know, still it was beautiful out and it was a good day. But then when the pads came on, it was a whole different tempo.
Oh yeah,
especially on defense. You heard them talking about it in the press conferences. I mean, the defense really has been the bright spot, actually. You know, since the pads came on.
Yeah, you know, you hear you hear Justin Fields talk about it, and you can feel it. When there's a lot of chirping going on, that's when guys are comfortable in their surroundings. That's when they're buying in. And I totally understood what Justin was talking about. He wants to get that buy-in on offense. I don't think as a whole they're just not comfortable yet with that. But man, that's a very, very underrated aspect of this defense out there chirping already this early in camp, starting to gel. Because I'm telling you, we talked about it multiple times here. When you're a young team and the Bears are young, they're athletic, they're hungry, that hits philosophy, man. You can punch a fucking giant in the mouth and they'll fall down. You never know how it's going to be. And it just takes that one big play, and you can shock the world. So it's going to be interesting to see how they progress with this moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I saw it on day one. First day I was there on Monday. The intensity, but especially with the coaches. There's I think it was a secondary coach that was really standing out. I don't know his name, but he was firing up. I mean, every time they made a play, he was out there. So I think that culture on the defense is definitely.
Was he fired up like this, Claude?
You fuck yourself.
Nerd alert!
Who's that guy?
Who isn't that excited? Like, who doesn't just want to tell people to go fuck themselves constantly? Good morning.
This is the sultry sounds of Matthew Carstensen and his new. I didn't even know that he got a new mic, and he just showed up, and I'm like, "Did you get a new mic?" He's like, "Yes, I did."
I had to start doing it for my OnlyFans, so it was really important to start.
Manscaped read.
I got to step up the quality a little bit of the OnlyFans content I've been putting out. So let's roll with it.
Absolutely, but it feels so good, man. Just to that long wait, end of June, beginning of July, where you're waiting for all this. Now the guys get out there, and then you're like, they're back, but they're not really back because they're ramping up, get the pads on. But then, you know what I mean? It's just, it feels so good. Every day you have something out there to look forward to. And I know they have a day off tomorrow. So hopefully that does a guy like Nate Davis some good. You don't want to see Tevin down for too long, or, any of these guys that are nicked up. But at the same time, I know people are fired up, but listen, end of the day, you want Nate Davis there on week 1. If he's got to take some time now, you get it out of the way. You don't want anything lingering. You want these guys ready and firing out all cylinders in week 1.
Well, and I think, though, that when you look at it, he was a guy that came off of a season injury, so it would make sense that they would not rush him into the first couple of padded practices and do this, to your point. So the alarm meter is not very high on that one. Tevin is always a concern, and I think for me it will always be a doubly concern the way that Flus answers questions about it. When he was like, accountability is availability, that sort of thing. It always reads a little different, but the way that Nate comes in, coming off something, it makes sense. He's an established player. He knows what he's doing. Give him an extra minute to get through it.
Get in somebody's ass today.
And that brings out Ivan Vargas.
Oh, awesome. Perfect. Way to segue me in.
Ours is so salty.
I just don't it concerns me that you're like, we're going to have Matt say, get in someone's ass. And then we're going to be like, Ivan, come on board. So let's just see how we roll with this.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I'm just going to leave it there.
That's what the stash is for.
Good.
Good.
Right? Is that what the stash is for?
Yeah. Flavors.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. But Ivan, you were there with Claude. So I guess, before we get into the football, but talk about the experience with the barber attending camp.
Dude. All right. Well,
you fucking rock star, right?
Claudio is a superstar in his own right. Like, honest to God, I call him the mayor of Chicago, and he's only spent 2 days there. Because, he'll just start up and then it's a good thing. Like, he'll start up a conversation with everybody. He's complimenting people, talking. He's everywhere. He was just all about being a part of the, Bears fandom, being a part of the crowd and everything. that part was pretty cool, seeing Claudio just mingle around. But after training camp, we got a little crazy. We went to the Cubs game. We got a couple drinks.
That was great.
Had a few cocktails. The game was actually a pretty good game.
Claudio know one player from either side on the baseball team?
Not a clue. But get this. So get this. This is part of why I call him the mayor of Chicago. So we sit down, and all of a sudden, Claudio just starts talking to the person next to us. They happen to be a couple from Australia, and then we just started Claudio's teaching them baseball as the game's going on.
They're teaching us cricket.
They're teaching us cricket. And
and baseball.
Exactly. So we've been back, and we're going back and forth, just like talking and sharing and stuff like that. And then it was just Cubs lost, but it was a great game, great time with Claudio. Got a little crazy on the ride back home, but don't take the CTA at night.
Right.
Yeah, that's really good advice.
The lesson is don't whistle when you're on a bus with Ivan Vargas. Don't whistle loud. Maybe we'll tell this story.
Maybe I'll tell that later. We'll just
keep it for shout outs.
Yeah, we'll keep it for shout outs. But no, it was great. I mean, it was awesome. I mean, thank you, Ivan. He was like my chauffeur, bringing me around. And so I was like, let's go to a Cubs game, man. And Wrigley is beautiful. Wrigley, the field, the around it is beautiful. It's made me like Chicago even more. I love Chicago. It's my favorite city. And we had a great time.
You like it even better than Wallingford, Connecticut, huh?
Yeah, better. The pizza's not as good, but
get out. Oh, sorry. I said that out loud. My apologies.
So getting back onto the football field, with what you guys saw, if there was going to be one, I guess I haven't just dropped off. If there was one thing that stood out to you overall, Claudio, in terms of a player, who is it?
Stevenson, the rookie. Yeah, Tyreek Stevenson, the rookie cornerback. I think just physically, he's a big dude. In drills, he was just going hard all the time. I mean, a lot of players were, but obviously
clip that one.
Yeah,
clip
sure.
But no, I mean, like I said in that little promo that me and Ivan did. First play on Monday, so without pads, but still, first play was a deep ball to DJ Moore, and Stevenson had coverage on him, batted it right out of his face. Yep. Beautiful play. That's you could tell they were testing him. They're like, all right, we're putting our number one against you. What can you do? And he came through. So I think overall, and then the second day he also played very well and this and that. But that just stood out to me, especially on Monday.
So real quick, just some bookkeeping here. So we're broadcasting back on Facebook tonight for the first time in a long time. So I know that there's some people in the chat. Facebook users are showing back up. So you're going to have to head over to StreamYard.com/Facebook, accept the terms, and then that will let us see your name. Because if you don't, you're just going to show up as Facebook user. And we like to be interactive here. So StreamYard.com/Facebook, accept it, bounce back in here, and we'll see who you are. But Ivan, I'll ask you the same question. Claudio picked Tyreek Stevenson. Like, if you were to pick one player that stood out, or you're like, oh wow, that's what I want to see. Who's one guy that stood out for you?
Jaquan Brisker. I mean, Jaquan Brisker's been flying around. I know Flus has been calling him a Mako Shark out there. I could see the comparison. The guy just flies around. He's been hitting. There was a scuffle today. I'm not sure if it was between him and Brisker or him and somebody else, but Brisker came down and almost made an interception. There was a big hit on Velus Jones, and then all of a sudden fisticuffs started, going, and there was a little scuffle there for a minute. But I think Jaquan Brisker looks really good. He, I believe he had a interception yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. He had an interception yesterday.
In double coverage,
In double coverage, right? Yeah. And he's been putting the wood to a lot of guys. So I like Jaquan Brisker so far. Yep. Flip it.
You guys,
it's going to be that type of show today.
Oh, yeah.
That's
absolutely.
I love Cherie's.
I mean, on offense, we did two defensive guys. I got to throw in.
Love Cherie's mom. Yeah, there she is.
No, I wanted to throw in on offense Claypool.
Yeah.
Claypool really.
I've had a lot of fun.
I don't know what he did today, but 2 days that I was there was.
Herb Howard has it's not really a progress meter, but it's his his
faith into
percentage
him.
of
Watch.
belief in him moving forward that he's going to make an impact. And I think he was down around 50 starting out, and I think now we're up at like 67%. I think the last time I looked at it. So, and that's what you want. Cars, you and I were talking about it with Ryan Cox offline a little bit, man. If you can get that impact there on this offense with a DJ Moore who's making plays seemingly at will out there. And, I've heard a lot of good things about Darnell Mooney not being restricted when, they let him loose. Because again, he's a guy that I don't need to see Darnell Mooney unrestricted right now.
Yeah.
I want Darnell Mooney ready to go week 1 versus Green Bay. You start to get something rolling with Claypool with his physical attributes, man. It can be an absolute game changer for this offense moving forward. It really can. It could be huge, and you might hear a little bit of the talk going the other way rather than the Bears gave away a pick to Pittsburgh for that. And Cars, we talked about it, man. He's still so young.
He's 25. I just find it extra funny just because of, Danny Parkins was making this thing like George Pickens made this contested catch against Joey Porter Jr. in practice. Like, this is the guy we should have had. And I think everybody just forgets what Chase did his rookie year with Ben and shell of himself, Ben Roethlisberger at that point, right? Like the guy who had a pop cap arm instead of the rifle that he used to have. And, the last season they moved him into slot. That's not really where he's comfortable.
Yeah.
But he, what I have found to kind of piggyback on all of that is like, you look at him and when he interviewed, he was way more comfortable there. Before what happened today, Tevin's interview yesterday was night and day compared to the awkwardness of some of his other ones. It was a lot of, there's a lot of hope, but if Claypool hits, like this is an offense that I don't know how you stop 1-4. Like you just, and when I say 1-4, that's Moore, Claypool, Mooney, Kmet.
You have an abundance of options, and that's not something that we as Bears fans have seen, in a long time. And guys that are
young
and very young, right? Exactly.
Because it was the last time we talked about it was 2013, and you're talking about a somewhat older Brandon Marshall, a younger Alshon Jeffrey, Marty Bennett. And then there was zero after that.
Yep.
And now you get into, well, hey, once we get through that, you still got Tyler Scott, who is getting open deep and really showing his speed.
Oh, yeah.
You still have Tanyan that shows up quite a lot on some of these clips. And we haven't even gotten to the running back portion. Like it is crazy.
And I think it's great when you bring up B. Marsh and Alshon and Martellus Bennett, those guys in their own right. Alshon had that one monster year, but when you look at all of those guys physically, they're all very similar.
Yeah.
There was no, I'm going to take the top off the defense type option there. The Bears have that. I mean, you can hit that with Mooney. You can hit it with Tyler Scott. You can get you saw DJ Moore last year in the walk-off. I think it was versus Atlanta when PJ Walker hit him deep. That was I think it's what's going to be out of the ordinary for this Chicago Bears team this year is the explosive plays. And I'm not talking the 20-yard plays.
Yep.
I'm talking the 45 plus that are going to the house plays on this team. That's been scarce here in Chicago.
It's a good way to look. Like, I think a lot of us forget it was 2 or 3 years ago, DJ Moore averaged 18 a catch, like just an absurd number. But he was paired then with a Robbie Anderson that was also taking the top off. So when you look at these guys, I sort of tweet threaded it, but like you look at Claypool, his numbers tend to be around 14 yards a catch. You look at Moore, outside of the 18, 14 yards a catch. You look at Mooney, whose numbers regressed a little bit last year because he was a number one, but he's usually 14, 15 yards a catch. If you take what the Bears did in the run game last year, and now you can take the top off at any point, and you've got 2, 3, 4 guys that are legit threat to score the ball whenever they have it. We've never had that. Like Alshon was great in a deep ball, great in a contested thing, but we haven't had that kind of guy since like a Bernard Berrien almost to really take it off. Now we just have 3 or 4 of those guys.
Yeah, and where it's such a great mix is like we were talking about, roster construction is a big part of being a good team moving forward. And where does Justin Fields thrive? It's in those intermediate areas. Where does DJ Moore thrive? In those intermediate areas. Where is Cole Kmet going to thrive? Intermediate. And then you give him the burners on the outside along with that. That's where you're going to see these big shots deep. And there's going to be games out there. I'm telling you right now, the way that this offense is constructed and the force that DJ Moore just himself is, and Cole Kmet, you're going to see how holy shit, there goes Tyler Scott, and there's not a fucking person on him.
Yeah.
Those are the things that you're going to see. Justin Fields has he's got the escapability, he's got the arm strength to get it deep, but you're going to see some of those plays. That's when you see that around the NFL so much. You see these big plays, and you're like, oh man, how can Chicago?
When is it our turn? When is it our turn?
Yeah. Audio, you sent me that slant pass. The touchdown.
We don't run slants.
Yeah, exactly.
That was amazing. Yeah, because I mean, it was pads, so obviously they were running full speed. I mean, they weren't going to obviously hit them hard, but I mean, they couldn't even if they wanted to.
Yeah.
The only guy that got a hand on him was at the end when he scored. So it was awesome, man. It was you don't see that. There
was a four. It seemed like there was a force emphasis the first 2 days they were there on intermediate to short routes.
Yeah.
So today, a lot of dump balls. You saw one or two big passes yesterday, and then today there was a lot more. A lot of deep ends, a lot of posts, and then obviously the slants that we're working today. But it still isn't complete. You know what I mean? It was still a rough day, and that's not saying that they can't go ahead and bounce back from it, because that's what training camp's for. But, they need to figure out how they're going to gel that offensive line, because I still see issues there. And I know they're rotating guys and trying to find, that perfect, front five, which I'm pretty sure they have in their minds already. But it just seems to me that they were giving up too much penetration. There was too many guys getting to Justin Fields today. Cody Whitehair, a couple of botch snaps that weren't good. So there's a lot of concern still left. I think the excitement of a guy like a Tyler Scott, seeing Chase Claypool, and there's a connection there. There's a serious connection there. I mean, Justin's found him the last 3 days I've been there quite a few times, and for some big games. So it's there, but it's still a long way to go.
Well, and but I think the opposite, and Kevin kind of hits on it, is, we heard about 3 days in a row of really good offensive performances and plays. If that had continued over the way we as Bears fans and the way that Bears media is, the talking point wouldn't be about the offense looking good. It would immediately jump into how concerning the defense is and how big of an issue this is. It's really nice to see them compete. And I think, Ivan and Claude, you guys kind of saw this. We talked about one of the best matchups to be sitting down and watching is those corners against these wide receivers. Those are flat out brawls, and play in, play out. And yes, the defensive line, when the pads came in, it was a little different. They were starting to control a little bit more. But I'm going to expect those sorts of things. As long as we stay healthy and and we just kind of see these things moving, I'm not ready to. The worry is there under the surface, and I'm going to do my best to keep it under the surface until week one.
Yeah, I hear you, man. And I think everybody, I know Dan Weeder, Danny Downer, as Cars likes to refer to him, they did their podcast, I believe it was yesterday, saying that the Justin Fields hype is getting out of hand. And well, yeah, because everything with the national media is out of hand.
When Greeny says he's the next superstar,
but it's ESPN and all
well,
that.
That's what I mean. He says it on ESPN now.
Exactly, and it's gonna.
We did it for Mitch in 2019,
absolutely.
right? Like, he had a couple of good practices, and all of a sudden we're in Vegas, and Mitch was one of the favorite voters for MVP that year.
Yeah,
and
but it's the thing about it is what nobody's talking about, but everybody knows is beyond San Francisco and Philadelphia in the NFC, it's wide open. It's wide open.
The NFC is terrible.
Yeah, I know.
Overall, like I think that's the message we need to get through is like, you get past Philly. I don't have a lot of hope in the Giants. No. Dak looks terrible, and people are already throwing concerns about that. Washington, you can never count on Washington to do anything. The NFC South is a horrible division. Yeah. Arizona in the West is terrible. Seattle, we'll see. San Francisco, I expect to be pretty good. The Rams look terrible. And the Vikings don't have a lot of defensive talent.
No.
Saints might be okay, but nothing that's going to be.
I'm just not.
I'll never bet on Derek Carr. Ever.
Yeah, I'm looking at Derek Carr much like I look at Kirk Cousins. If it comes down to go time and you need a big win, I'm not counting on either of those guys to get it done. And yeah, Mike, I don't think that the Bears saying that their offense still sucks. That's not true. I think they're going to hit bumps in the road along the way. You
have a very young team. Like it's a very young team. There's still going to be mistakes made. It's just, and I'm just pointing out what I saw and what is there. Like there still needs to be work done. Guys are looking a little bit better. Like Velas has more confidence, but as far as sucks, I think you got to look at it from week to week come this season. I really do.
It's going to be a lot like last year where you're not going to know what this team is until later. And I think that's where we get lost in as Bears fans is we are very frustrated because we've lost so much. And so we want them to win now, but it's not the way that it was. And Mike, like when you say this, that's going to happen. It's the second padded practice. If the defense didn't have a good day, we'd be concerned about the defense. You're going to have bad days. Every team has it. Just wait till week 8 and 10. You're going to know by then.
Saying it is the worst practice in years is to get a reaction. And I love Cap, but that's bullshit.
I have been to so many freaking Trubisky, Nagy practices, which were god awful.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that is, it's hard to believe that it would be anywhere near that.
Like I said, I love Cap, but listen, come on. That's just trying to get a reaction, and I get it. And Cap bleeds blue and orange just like we do. So you get fired up and you want to see everything clicking on all cylinders. Oh, and there's this little thing. Nothing is game planned for. The defense, more times than not, knows what's coming to them. That's when they said, Jaquan Brisker can know that there's going to be a pass out in the flat, because this is what they're working on. They're going into this practice knowing if they don't get the look that they want on defense, guess what? They're still running that play because they want to get those reps. There's nothing game planned right now. I believe, actually, I can bring this. I have it in the background, but Justin talked about specifically that today in his presser. But go ahead, Cars.
The last thing I want to say is a lot of these guys today, they're even talking about they're dropping 7 into coverage and more into coverage than normal to make this a little bit harder on Justin, to force him to read, to do these things. So yeah, when you've got 7 in coverage, there is going to be some more coverage levels, leverage stacks, right? It's not going to be clean. You would expect that, but what my biggest takeaway that you start to hear from is that they're really practicing a lot of situational improvement based things to make Justin make a read and make Claypool and Mooney and Moore make the same read to get onto the same page. And if the defense knows that it's a pass, there's no threat of a run whatsoever.
Right.
It takes so much of that work out.
And as bad as it was, because it wasn't good. It really wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't great. They did bounce, and Justin alluded to it in his presser. They came back. They bounced back in the 2-minute drill at the end of the practice.
Yeah.
They made a drive. There was a couple, like I said, there was still a couple hiccups. It wasn't completely clean, but they were able to complete some passes, get downfield, and set themselves up in a position to score. So, I mean, you got to kind of look at it like that as of right now. Everybody's going to, take it to the extreme because it's practice. It's the first couple days, and everybody loves the Bears and their passion likes to show, but you got to be patient. You got to calm down and just see the process through.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, part of Dan Wieder's talk made sense because there is steps to this. You're not going to go from mediocre to Hall of Fame, and that's not the way that it works. There's going to be incremental progress. And I think that we're seeing that. Cars, you brought up a great point saying that there's no threat of the run game. You don't go into training camp practices to work on your run game.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
That's just the way that it is. You're not going in there to work on your run. To get your, we're going to go in there and we're going to get Roshan Johnson 15 carries today. It doesn't work that way. It's all about the rhythm and timing for your receivers and your quarterback and your tight ends and your reads. Right. Yeah. Exactly. So it's all part of the process. And one thing that they talked about it internally, everything that they want to see in terms of incremental progress from Justin, they're seeing right now. We live in this world, this fandom world of you're either Patrick Mahomes or you suck.
Or you're Baker Mayfield.
There's no in
exactly.
Between.
Yeah.
Right. I was going to say Rex Grossman, but I didn't want to piss Claude off. But
wait. I got to add this. On the bus, I did meet another Rex Grossman fan. Remember, Ivan?
Dude,
there was a fan
there? They were damn near making out. All right. They were damn near making out.
I look over. The guy has an 8. I'm like, okay, well.
He's like, hey.
Who the else could it be? And it was Grossman. And he's like, yeah, I'm a Grossman fan and this and that. So the 2 members of the Grossman fan club were there.
The mayor of Chicago. The mayor of Chicago.
But let's listen to QB1 here a little bit because I thought he, like I said, after a tough day at the office, you can still feel and hear the confidence in this kid and talking about that incremental progress and knowing what to expect and where they want to go.
Now, when you were still learning so much about the new offense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still learning now, but of course, when you have a year of experience in an offense, you're able to, try new things. Like we got a few new concepts in from last year and, see what we like and stuff like that. But, I mean, it's definitely
you're really trying to push that Sunkiss sponsorship, huh?
Yeah.
Hard.
Just trying to learn new things. We're able to, play around with different things this year. And, just guys coming back from last year, receiver-wise, we already know, what they're good at doing, like what routes they're good at running. So I would say that's probably the biggest difference.
You happy with where you guys are at right now?
I think we're in a good spot right now. I think the biggest thing we need to do is be more consistent. And I think today in practice we came out probably
everything was going so good until Potsy started talking.
Oh yeah.
Is that the one that he's the one that asked that question?
Every little win that we
question ever.
Need to have energy about it because that energy is contagion. That's one thing I think the defense does well is like every little thing that they do. DBs are always hyper stuff up. They're always doing so it's like, and that just like gets the whole defense going. So, I told the office today like we just need to have that same juice as the defense did. But I felt like
takes one play.
And they,
one play can create those.
Culligan Water isn't just a name; it's a promise to put you.
Oh, we got a new sponsor.
We got a new sponsor.
Yeah.
I would say they definitely won the day. So we have an off day tomorrow, but the next day, offense has to come back stronger. So
one offense that are like that. On the other side, you got Bojack. You know how those guys gonna be. DeMarcus. Who are the guys offensively that are naturally like that?
I would say Chase for sure. I would say Chase is
You knew that was coming.
Very emotional player. Even today he was getting into it with the defense a little bit. I would say Chase is one big one. Mooney's more like just calm. He's more like even keeled. I would say DJ's the same way, but I think once he really starts making plays, I mean you've seen on the field the game winner where PJ threw the deep bomb. I mean he had a bunch of energy there. So I just think we need to do it more in practice. I feel like it's more natural in the game to where that energy comes from. But I would say, we need to do it more in practice to get everybody kind of going like that.
Justin, how first team offense has a bit of a bumpy practice like that. How do you kind of process it? What are you eager to see later today when you go back and review it to figure out how to clean it up?
Yeah, just see where we messed up. I think we had a lot of, controllable things, like just the controllables, like just, for example, for my job, calling the right play, making sure everybody's on the same page. And then for the receivers, of course, it's running the right route. So just the controllables and stuff like that. And, just making the easy plays easy. Like we definitely had, a couple of drops out there. I missed a couple of throws out there. So just, making the easy plays easier, not really making them, as hard as they have to be or harder than they have to be, which is a better way to say that. But, of course, we had a bumpy practice, but 2 minutes we came back and, bounced back and stuff like that. So I was part of the guys for that. And, of course, every practice isn't going to be perfect, but, just seeing
practice.
It's really good to actually have, days like this just to see, how guys respond to a little bit of adversity. So I think the guys definitely had more juice towards the end of the practice. So I just wanted them to have that the whole time, like start off with that same juice. But just got to learn from our mistakes and, continue to get better.
Justin, in your time with Luke Getsy, what effect has his confidence had on you? He was very confident today that you guys are still headed the right way. He even said there's mistakes on every play, but he's still very confident things are headed the right way. You guys had that a little bit last season too.
Yeah, we did what last season? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last part you said.
Last season in the games, you guys got off to a rough start offensively, but confident the whole time, and it did turn at least a little bit.
Yeah.
What effect has his confidence and demeanor had on you when you guys have been in times where you're struggling?
I mean, yeah, Luke. I feel like Luke is never the one to panic, and I mean, even if he does panic inside, I mean, nobody's gonna be able to tell. So, of course, it's always good to have somebody that's always laid back and really just kind of cool, calm, collective in every situation. So,
yeah. So we kind of get it. Like I said, it's always about the bounce back. And when you're a young team and there's, new players here, and I know it's year 2 for the offense overall, but Darnell Wright is new. Nate Davis hasn't been out there the past couple of days. Unfortunately, DJ Moore is out there making plays. Tanyan is, in a new situation.
Tanyan today, sorry to interrupt you, but Tanyan today looked pretty good. Like I know Mike was, I think Mike's talking about in general when he's talking about receivers need to catch the ball, but Tanyan had like 5, he caught like maybe 6 or 7 passes. I think he caught 5 in a row at a certain point. Yeah. So
but the drop is going to be highlighted by the beat reporters on Twitter, and everybody's going to read that and make assumptions. But that goes back to if you're not Travis Kelce, then you suck as a player, and if
you're not Kittle or Kelce, you're the worst.
And that's not who Tanyan is. Never going to be either one of those players, but he's going to serve a purpose in this offense. And this is training camp. We're just a few days in. There's going to be, guys, this isn't a well-oiled machine yet. There's going to be bumps in the road in training camp, just like there's going to be bumps in the road in November, in December. It's going to be there. You're going to see highlight plays, and then you're going to see plays like that will make you want to rip your hair out. It's just the way that it is. It's about incremental progress.
But I think you bring up a good point, Shane, in that this year, minimally, there's way more big play ability. Like last year, we were bottom 8. We had 38 plays over 20 yards in the air.
Yeah, and how many of those were Justin?
Yeah, no, we're talking about like through the air. There
Oh,
were
just talking
38
about through the
plays,
air,
and there
okay.
were 7 over 40. So you're talking like the 40 is kind of middle-ish, but everything else was there. And you kind of get amazed that we had 38 over 20 when you think of the fact that we were throwing to Equinemius
Stimbo
St.
Webster.
Brown's, Dante Pettis, Stimbo Webster, Byron Pringle, N'Keal Harry, and a lot of those guys aren't on that roster this year. Like a lot of those guys, or the ones that are, Pettis.
I don't think N'Keal Harry's even in the league. I don't think he's with anybody.
He isn't.
Yeah.
And, Pettis was probably number 2 last year, or EQ was number 2. Pettis was number 3. Now those guys are competing for 5th and 6th slots. So it is.
You can take it beyond that. They're competing for roster spots.
Oh yeah, because if you're not 5th, you may not make the team depending on where the depth is. And so, again, the things that you just get excited for is there's more talent there. Is it enough? No, but I do think we need to do a better job of understanding, damn, that thing was barren when they got here. Just how bad that roster was when they started. And so it's not finished, but you can't do it in a year. The arrow is up.
Claudio, you were at the game in New York, the Jets game.
Yeah.
Justin didn't play, and then Mooney went down. I mean, who were you focused on that game? You know what I mean?
Honestly, yeah, it was bad. I mean, and it was raining too, so it was like it was the worst. Honestly, it was the worst. But yeah,
you're in New Jersey. It's raining.
I'm in New Jersey.
Fuck.
Exactly. But to Carr's point, I mean, that's what we're talking about, and
there wasn't anybody left yet.
Yeah, and everybody wants to focus on the negatives, but a big part of one of the biggest stories so far of camp, if you're asking me, is Chase Claypool. And that's what we've been begging for. That's what we wanted to see. That's what we wanted to hear. We wanted to see progress there. And you hear Justin, he's that guy. If you go back and you watch that George Pickens catch that everybody's been fawning over all over social media, like he gets up and he takes the ball and he fucking puts it in the guy's fucking chest on his own team. I'm like, that would piss me the fuck off.
That's a 15-yard penalty.
Exactly.
And he's doing it in a game
all the time. Yeah, that shit. To me, there's a difference between going there against your own teammate or just talking like Justin is talking about. And listen, the offense hasn't earned the right to talk. If you're out there having a bad day, I don't want to hear shit from you. You haven't earned the right to talk.
It's like the guy who does that and goes and hits the home run, and you're like, now you're down only 12-2 instead of 12-1. Don't do your trot. It doesn't matter right now.
Yeah. Don't you remember in The Last Dance when MJ's sitting in the locker room with the baseball bat? He's like, it takes a special kind of man to talk when the score is tied, rather than, exactly. Or if you're down like that. And it's true. The offense is going to have their time. There's bumps in the roads, but to me, their trajectory is up. And when like I said, if Chase Claypool keeps on clicking along with DJ Moore, you got Cole Kmet, Darnell Mooney, Scott, all of these guys, and we haven't even talked about the running ability of the quarterback that can flip the fucking field just by himself with his feet when he wants to. And that's another.
Well, that's the whole wild card, because if the passing game obviously improves tremendously from last year, now you're gonna have another person in the secondary is gonna be eyeing Fields, so you're taking him out of it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But I think the way you look at it is, for me, the success of this season is not a 4,000-yard passing year as much as I would like to see it. It's a 30 touchdown passing year, It's another one of those things that we don't have. So, efficiency in that and stretching that ball out. If you go out and say throw 3,600 yards, but you're getting, you're talking 7.5, 8.5 yards per attempt on the chunk plays because the run game is working. All of that adds in, and you can't. Back to that earlier point, this is going to be a run heavy, run first team. There's no shame in that. That is what San Francisco is. That is what Philadelphia is. That is what Green Bay has always been, or has been the last 2 or 3 years. Doesn't mean you're going to necessarily not pass the ball, but you're gonna run a lot. You're going to try to get. We were like almost 60-40 run to pass last year. If we get to 50-50 because of the pass game, that's a tremendous gain for us. And getting to that 30 touchdown number means the offense is working.
Absolutely.
It's massive.
Yep. So real quick, I just want to address this, Rick. I believe you've had the same question this week, last week, and 2 weeks ago, and we've addressed it every single show. Phil is handling an issue as a father. We've addressed it last week. We addressed it 2 weeks ago, and now we're going to address it again. So maybe you should listen better. We're not mentioning Phil. Phil's handling some business as a dad, as he should, as Ivan would, as Claudio would, as Cars would, as I would. That's where Phil is, and that's all that needs to be said right now. That's what it is. He's doing what he needs to do, and when Phil's back, he's back. We've addressed it each and every week, so it doesn't need to become an issue. We're not trying to hide anything. We've talked about it every single week. We're open and honest here, and I'm being open and honest right now. So there you go. Let's get back to football.
I mean,
Agreed.
I wanted to say something about the offense and defense in training camp. I mean, don't you think it's a little harder for the defense, seeing how they obviously shouldn't really be hitting like they would in a game, right? So the offense has a little bit of an advantage. So maybe that's why the defense gets more pumped up about making plays.
I think it's a lot the personalities. Like you really do. Like for every Tremaine Edmonds that is, kind of a quieter guy, the defensive backs are usually defensive backs and wide receivers are usually the two most talkative positions in the NFL.
Yeah, that's where the divas are.
And we, like DJ Moore is not that guy. He's not a diva. He's just a quiet assassin. Darnell Mooney has always sort of been that quiet assassin. Cole Kmet probably talks more shit than any of the wide receivers that we have.
Shit talker. You heard
Cole threw a motherfucker down today. Like he threw him off to the sideline today. It was pretty badass. But
we know who the shit talker is on offense. Justin was very open. Chase Claypool's going to be the dude. It's not going to be a firecracker. He's going to light a quarter stick of dynamite, and he's going to let everybody know it. Some people don't like that. The thing about it is the Bears don't have players like you hear in that presser.
Yes.
You hear Justin talk about the guys on defense like that. You hear him talk about Brisker. You hear him talk about Walker. You hear him talk about, even Tremaine Edmonds isn't loud and boisterous, but he's the ultimate leader.
Yes.
You have more guys like that. The offense just doesn't. They have, like Carr said, they have those quiet assassins, but they're going to gel more, I think, in these games. And even in preseason games, guys, a lot of them, that first one, it's just going to be vanilla stuff. They're going to get the reps in that they want to get in. They're going to get the plays in that they want to get in. There's not going to really be any game planning or anything like that.
Oh, no.
Yeah, we're going to see it. The offense's time is going to come. There's too much talent on this team.
Which is
for
a
them.
weird thing to say.
Yeah, it is. It really is. To me, the only thing when I say the only thing that's going to hold them back, I'm not saying that this is going to be the greatest show on turf, Rams offense. But there's a lot of talent on this team, and injuries are going to be the deciding factor. if you get ravaged with injuries, then you're going to have a fucking problem. That's, I bring up Philly again. Philly was one of the healthiest teams in all of football last year. And they also happen to be one of the most talented teams in all of football. And guess what? They won a bunch of fucking games. That is a huge part of it. So it's going to be very, very interesting. I'm not, you gotta stack these drafts. Ryan Poles has had really one draft with all of his stuff in place. That first draft that took place with him, they're still working off of the scouting grades and the process of Ryan Pace. This past one wasn't. That was all Poles and Ian Cunningham's philosophies in place. That's when you see the bear emblem up there on a player that they feel like, has to be a Chicago Bear. Scott Pioli, I don't know if anybody saw him talking about Ryan Poles. He hired Ryan Poles back in, I believe, what did he say, 2009?
Yes.
He was the guy that hired him, got him in the NFL. He said, there's one thing I am not worried about in Ryan Poles, and that is his ability to scout players. He's like, that's what he is best at. And that's what you want at the top. That's what you want at the top of your food chain in an organization, is a guy that can identify talent. Think about where we've come, just real quick. We have all these players that we're talking about. We are not used to this. Like I said, the acquisition of DJ Moore. Yes, there's questions with Chase Claypool, still upside there. We know how we feel about Roshan. Along the offensive line, everybody, did you hear Cole Kmet unsolicited praise Darnell Wright, talking about how they're not even worried about that part because he's just got a calm demeanor and he'll also fucking drag you out back and kill you and then tell you about it while he's killing you.
That's awesome.
You don't think that attitude? Guess who's going to be chirping, guys? You want a guy that's going to chirp on offense? It's going to be that guy, number 58, and he's going to tell everybody.
He might not chirp, but if they're chirping, he's going to shut that person up. He's going to be like, that's the next guy I'm going to pancake. And that gets everybody going. Like, you're going to Nate Davis and he are going to lay out some massive pancake blocks. It is going to get people moving. I just think, like, when it hits and when it clicks, it is going to be just a lot of fun to watch again for the first time in a long, long time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Darnell Wright's the dude. See you in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
That's what he's gonna be like. And I'm so excited for it to see, imagine hitting on a top 10 pick. Imagine if that actually happens. Look back at Ryan Pace with that, and it was horrific.
Well, look at what he inherited. Like, the Bears, you looked at this roster, there was like 9 or 10 guys on a 50-man roster that Ryan Pace had drafted. Yeah. Cole Kmet was the first extension of a rookie of a player we drafted since Tariq Cohen. Props to Tariq, but Tariq was what, a 4th-round pick? Like,
and we all knew that he shouldn't have gotten that extension.
Yeah, right. But it was like, if we don't do this, there'll be nobody.
Yeah, exactly.
So like, I think sometimes we do a bad job as fans of like understanding how massive of an undertaking it truly was, and how we sort of benefited from the fact that the NFC North was a pretty mid division the last 2 years of Matt Nagy. Like, Green Bay had all the talent, Minnesota, it was Minnesota, Detroit was Detroit. The NFC hasn't been solid, and it hurt us because it made us think that we were more in it than we were. Right. And
just, I think the one thing that gets me excited, and Ivan, you were there, you guys touched on it a little bit, is look at the way that he has revamped this secondary. Moving forward. And you hear about the fight going on with Stevenson and Terrell Smith, a 5th-round rookie. You hear those guys going back and forth. And what was the one of the biggest things that we were talking about coming into this training camp was going to be the contract for Jalen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For Jalen Johnson. And it's going to be, now we have two guys on the other side. And then there's guys beyond that. And I said, that's been such a focus for Ryan Poles, and not a lot of people talk about it. And I mean, you have an ultimate leader in Jaquan Brisker, who's, I mean, Ivan, you notice him when he's out there just in practice. You hear him making an impact in practice. And those are, when we talk about those Bear emblems again, the Bears haven't had those guys. It's always been, especially in the secondary, it's always, we didn't hit on this guy. We got to go out and we're going to bring in a guy that's been in the league for 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Bring him in. We're all going to get excited about him because he made some plays. These are guys that are 22 years old, 23 years old, that are going to be here for the next 5, 6 years. Hopefully all sign extensions and get them here. And we're not used to that.
No.
You have a legit bona fide talent evaluator leading the charge. Do we have everything answered so far? No, you don't. But guess what? We're bringing in talent, and we have 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
Next year. And then the year after that, we have 2 second-round picks.
But we're building.
They're doing it the right way.
They're building through the draft. It doesn't mean that we're not signing guys. Clearly we are. But, you know, the biggest change is just, if you look at the roster construction of where we got these guys.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, like, not even just were they drafted versus free agency, but like the last 2 years, we get these guys. We've never, well, I take that back. Like we had this early on with Angelo when he drafted well, and then he got greedy and started to do exactly what Shane was talking about of
post Super Bowl
shortcutting, right?
Yeah,
And trying to extend a window that wasn't really there because
No, we're very economical, my family.
Because Rex Grossman wasn't was not the answer.
Yeah.
So it's as fans, again, we have to separate. We all should be hungry to win. I totally understand that. But you cannot shortcut consistent winning. So do not hold this group accountable for what Pace left them with. And understand, I want to win. I would love us to go out and be 14-3 and do that. I don't think it's realistic because the hole was the hole that we were trying to dig out from was so deep from shortcutting all the time that now we can see the fruits of these labors start to work.
I think that you're seeing they definitely hit a goal, and that was to bring competition. They bring competition, bring depth, and they've done that in a lot of spots. It's the secondary being the highlight because we know how bad it was the past few years. It was very bad. So looking at it, you know, and I watching Brisker, watching the first team, watching the second team, there's a lot of guys out there that are flying around. They're happy to be out there. They're motivating. They're barking, but it just seems like the defense has a different energy. And I know it's the start of pads, but I remember yesterday was even better than today with as far as the energy was concerned. I mean, they were from whistle to whistle, you know, flying around, up, dancing, like when they made a big play. Today was a little bit slower, but they still had that fire. And honestly, like I said, you got to look at this as in increments, it's in steps. They reached the goal here. They brought competition in, and now we got to see what these kids do when they get out on the football field.
Absolutely. They stripped it down and they built the foundation, and now they're building it section by section the right way.
Yeah,
and
they did just put a couple bricks underneath, you know, a couple masonry bricks and go like this'll hold up fine, no problem.
Yeah, exactly. Put those bricks in the fuck it. Let's go get Mac.
Yeah,
then we'll get the big screen.
We're doing.
Yeah, exactly. Get the big screen TV. So we're about an hour in here, and we're gonna change things up here just a little bit, surprise some people, and kind of take you guys around the TTNL world just a little bit, and have you guys sit back. We're going to remove ourselves from the screen real quick here. And we'll be right back real quick, I think.
For Lord Cars.
Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye. Man of the people.
You know it's Cars Keys. Let's get it started up. Give me the car keys. Lakeshore Drive. Blog boys drive away with our takes like car thieves. Break down, we study tape and thrive.
Analytical preparation, that's what Cars is given. Cars don't discriminate, teaching the men and women. Each and every week, there's nerd to get your focus. Never manipulating stats, Lord Cars and hocus pocus. Cars keys, they're never lost. Checking source, never gonna find a better scouting report. Cars going live with the smartest man, my bestie. Deciphering holes on the defense like Getsy. New show, uniforms, orange with the dark sea. Tape never lies, patrons, this is Cars
You know
keys.
it's Cars Keys. Let's get it started up. Give me the car keys. Lakeshore Drive. Blog boys drive away with our takes like car thieves. Break down, we study tape and thrive. We gotta break down tape like detectives. No hot takes, just real football perspectives. The Bears nerd dropping science on his terms. TTNL giving Bears press like a perm. Other networks is off with the heads. Stats plus film equals football cred. Analysis like Data Ted tries to shred. McCaskey's letting me cake, we keep the 100 crew fed. Cars keys, let's get it started up. Give me the car keys. Lakeshore Drive. Blog boys drive away with our takes like car thieves. Break down, we study tape and thrive. Lord Hines in his car, fill up a goblet. Lord Hines in his car, fill up a goblet.
Look at us, Cars. Look at us. We're back. We're giving the people a little bit of a twofer tonight. Keeping it 100/Cars Keys. Because football's back, my man.
I mean, first off, thank you for my ego. I surely appreciate it. You know, I can hear my kids actually dancing as they're listening to the song upstairs. So, you know, it's good times. But I figured, you know, with the way things are, why not do a little bit today?
Yeah, we were talking about it a little bit. We're trying to match up times, and I know we both have, you know, family commitments and things like that going on, so it's hard. So I was going to reach out to you, and then you reached out to me pretty much at the same time, said, hey, what if we did it this way? And I'm like, it's a great idea, dude, because I was going to suggest the same thing. So we're still going to go back to keeping it 100, but we're going to give you some Cars Keys nuggets to get you guys ready for Bears training camp and just a little bit different look. I'm not going to call anybody's mother a cunt on this show because it's not the place for it.
Yeah, that's a Wednesday night thing. That's for sure. The way that works. But yeah,
So,
you know, it's fun to do this.
Let's hop into it, Cars, and tell us what you think and what you see from this 2023 Bears roster construction specifically.
Well, I think it was, you know, we started to talk about it a little bit tonight, and I think it was fun to look through and just we talk a lot about changes. So if you look kind of last year to this year, when you look at those changes of where players have come from and who's on this team and where they are, everybody in blue is an actual former Bears draft pick at one point or another. No separation as to who it's from. But like one of the things you notice, look at all the guys that were over 30 that have now been replaced by 21-year-olds.
Yep.
You know, when you look at you know, Pickens and Dexter as opposed to Armand Watts and Mike Pennell. Like that's these sorts of things are massive gains. And when you look at like the amount of draft picks on this team, you know, was I think it was like 10 or so on the team that had been drafted on the Bears during the Pace era. Now you have that many on defense alone.
Absolutely.
Right. And it's just interesting to like look at it contextually of like we have gotten younger in a lot of different places. We've gotten better. You know, if you look at this list, Edmonds is a massive upgrade over Morrow. Edwards is a downgrade from Roquan's talent, although, the fit argument is there. Billings is an upgrade over Blackson. But if you look at it the way that it is right now, the front seven, there's one guy that is really part of the front seven that started week 1 for us last year. One guy.
And that needed to happen, man. You needed to flush that out and infuse it with some young ascending talent. And one thing that we haven't really talked about, Cars, and I almost mentioned it when we were on the Keeping It 100 part of the show, is, and this is not a shot at Sanborn at all, but when free agency rolled around and we saw them sign TJ Edwards, we've talked about this 100 times. We're like, all right, there's their linebacker signing.
Yep.
We're good. He still nicked up a little bit, not out there all the time. And you think back to how wrong our philosophy then was about how they looked at this linebacker core. TJ Edwards, that's it.
Good enough or good enough.
Yeah. And it's just the previous regimes in Chicago, that would have been enough. Oh, we're going to save a bunch of money with Sanborn. He's a Wisconsin kid, from Chicago, white. all of that stuff. We're going to bring him here. That would have been good enough. And you cannot build a proper roster that way. You have to, and none of this is a negative against Sanborn whatsoever. He's a fantastic player. But thankfully, Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham, saw the forest through the trees and said, we're going to attack this. And they didn't even stop there. Another guy that you had a great practice today, I don't want to say great, but made some plays today, was Sewell.
Yeah.
They didn't even stop. And that, to me, shows that they get it. It's not Jack Sanborn, TJ Edwards, and, well, that's enough. We'll figure out things from there. No, you're all, when you hear you're constantly churning the roster, you're constantly trying to upgrade. That's what they're doing, and that's what they attacked. And I absolutely love it. They're doing this the right way.
I agree. And again, when you look at this, like next year, Justin Jones and Billings are gone. And in the right way, that's Zach Pickens and Javon Dexter that are replacing those two.
Yeah, and they claimed the kid from
Roy.
Bravion Roy.
Bravion Roy.
Big motherfucker. You know what I mean? It's going to get in there. He's not going to be a pass rusher. But when you talk about Billings moving on, we'll see. Maybe he doesn't even make the roster. Who knows? But these are the types of things. The Bears have the number one spot in the waiver claim process. You and I talked about this a little bit offline too. You have to take advantage of that. Bring the guys in. Bring the guys in. Even if you're not positive, bring them in, get a look, and then move off of them. Or if you decide that you want to keep them, move off of somebody else. And that you have to strike while you're in that spot. And the cut down days this year are going to be fascinating because the Bears are sitting up at the top.
Well, but when you look at all these people that they've added, DeMarcus Walker, when you add these young kids, and I think we probably haven't made a big enough deal about hearing the energy that he brings, that everything is a competition. Like they were doing drills and he was beating Justin Jones and talking shit to his own fellow defensive player to do this. And so now you have a Walker who is there to show a Pickens and a Dexter and these guys how to work. Maybe he doesn't have the talent to be what Akeem Hicks was for us, but he's got the energy. He's got the leadership to do that. And so when you look at that room, think of all the things we've heard about Edmonds as a leader, everything we've heard about Edwards as a leader, and the way and how smart he is and how he helps people out. and the way that Eddie has been really involved in a lot of these young kids. There was an interview Zach Pearson did with Terrell Smith, and he said, "Who do you go to?" And he's like, "Don't ask me who. I go to everybody, and everybody in that room is who I go to." Well, the majority of those guys have been added the last 2 years. So when you start replacing these guys, and now the depth pieces you're counting on are young folks with upside, not recycled older vets, it is a mass. Like, there's no way to overstate just how important and different it truly is. We're not going to see Mike Pennell in an important game, who was a fine player, but he was 32 years old. Like, he was who he is. That's Dexter. We haven't had that in so long.
Yeah, I listened to Tom Thayer talk about Javon Dexter, and he's a Thayer likes to go to practice, and he doesn't like to be sitting with anybody. He likes to kind of like sit by himself, because Tom's not that he's trying to be salty towards fans or anything like that, but he's a football buff.
He's a trench.
He's invested in this. And Joniak was he was elated just talking about Dexter and what they feel like he can become and what they're seeing with him. Again, some bumps in the road. Everything hasn't been perfect, but Thayer talked about something that we've talked about it for years here, that little things matter. And unless you're there witnessing this, you're never going to hear anybody talk about it unless it's a guy like Tom Thayer sitting up in the stands by himself charting this. He said he watched multiple plays of Javon Dexter simply explode off of the line faster than everybody else, blow the play up, and he just throttled it down immediately. And he said, I made note of that. And he said, I want the coaches to go up there and tell him, no, you don't throttle it down that fast. I don't want you to go out there and fold the quarterback in half.
Yep.
You continue. I want you to
practice
continue
finishing.
that pursuit. Yeah.
Yes.
Finish. Little things like that matter. You tell this kid, we talked about what was the number one thing, that get off. There was an issue with it at Florida, and I know it was a big bone of contention. Phil wasn't a big fan of it, and different people. I'm blanking on the guy's name. Yurko was talking about it, and he said when you are in an aggressive scheme and you know that you can play free, everything is easier. When they're telling you, no, we need you to do this, then this, then this, then this, then attack, you're losing all of your God-given traits. You're losing just not even to make a basketball analogy, but when you're a team that is, the old Paul Westphal teams, when they're up and down and up and down and up and down, you want to get them into a half-court set. They're a completely different team. They're not doing what makes them special, and it takes away from their overall talent. And I think, to Ryan Poles and Ian Cunningham's credit, now granted, we still have a long ways to go, but you're seeing flashes from Dexter each and every practice. You saw it continue in the OTAs. It's continued into training camp. And now, we're not too far away from seeing it in a game. You want to go out there, you want to see him flash, but man, this kid is huge. They said,
5 years of football experience too.
Yeah. And it's still that unlimited upside. He hasn't even scratched the surface to what he can become. There's still a lot of things, Cars, that he doesn't even know because he's so early in his football journey.
And it's what drives me crazy when people looked at Dexter and they're like, oh, his consistency isn't there. It completely understood. It wasn't. But they looked across the aisle and they went, man, but that Jalen Carter, though, and there was no consistency there either. And so one guy gets the benefit of the doubt, because if you had swapped them out, if Dexter goes to Georgia instead of Carter and Carter heads to Florida, what does that look like? don't talk to me about like there's no consistency. There's no consistency. So many of these kids, especially now, are making business decisions on the college football field. And so, yeah, Dexter was rated just behind Jalen Carter when he came out from high school in
Number
the
two.
overall rankings.
Yep, number 2.
And so there is ceiling there. Zach Pickens did not go to a great situation to take advantage of his skills, and he's not flashed as much, but you see him making plays in the backfield, and you're hearing about it. So these guys, Shane, it's again, it's hard to not get excited when you're talking about like a 21-year-old and a 23-year-old kid who have room to grow and who can continue to get better. If the defense is decent and then those two come on,
absolutely.
Everything changes. Everything changes.
I know we've seen a lot of questions asking about Travis Bell. I know he made a play either today or yesterday that people were talking about, and listen, I haven't been there, so I haven't seen the practice reps. We're gonna have to wait to games. Bell is gonna be a guy that's gonna get those reps. I was talking to a guy I was talking to a guy last night about this, and we were just talking about, he was not a Bears fan, but we're just talking about football in general, and he's like talking about preseason games. He's like, yeah, they can get a little bit boring and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, that's not how we work here at TTNL. I said, we want that. We love the third and fourth quarters of the preseason games, because we want to see these guys. We want to get the tape. We want to see what they're doing. We live for that. And Bell is going to be a big part of it. And listen, if you have confidence that Ryan Poles found something in Darnell Wright, who at one point nobody had anywhere near the top 10, and
Dexter,
absolutely same type of deal. Guys like that get discovered all of the time, and he's going to have. The Bears had very, very high praise for this kid. So they had their belief system in Travis Bell is extremely high. So he's 100% going to have a chance here to make some sort of an impact, to stick. Maybe he goes on the practice squad. Who knows? It's going to be very, very interesting to see how they proceed with him. But his story is going to be told, Cars, in these 3 preseason games.
Well, but Roy is going to make it a lot harder for Bell to make the team, right? Like that's just the way that it is right now, and that's a good thing, though.
It is a good thing, and this is the thing. I'm not trying to bag on Phil here, but I always go back to the Daniel Braverman effect. You see a guy go out there and make some plays, you get excited about it, and you're like, oh, that's what we don't have. And everybody, he might not make great, he's going to go to New England. Bill Belichick's going to uncork him. He's going to be the next
just
Edelman.
Like Mitch going to Pittsburgh was going to set him off to the MVP. Right?
Or he's going to go to San Francisco, or he's going to go to New England himself. No, a lot of these guys, just because if Travis Bell, for whatever reason, he's got a shot to make the roster. Let's be honest, legitimate shot. But if he doesn't, odds are he's going to be back onto the practice. I think 100% if he clears waivers, he's going to be back on the Bears practice squad.
Oh, because they love the way he plays. But the guy, ironically, Bell is 24 years old. It's a great story. And please don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say anything, but if he gets replaced by Bravion Roy's 25. So it's not like you're replacing somebody who's with a 30-year-old. You're still staying relatively young in the replacement.
Yeah, and again, it's not like I said, his story has not been told. Yeah, I mean, his being the first draft pick out of Kennesaw State.
Yes,
it's an awesome story. But if he happens to get caught up in the roster crunch, and we're not saying that it's going to happen, it's just Cars brings up a great point. When you're talking about Billings, you're talking about Pickens, you're talking about Dexter, and then they go out and they didn't sign Roy as a free agent. They claimed him.
Yep.
So the Bears went out of their way to bring him in. How many interior defensive linemen are the Bears gonna keep on this roster? I mean, that's what you're talking about. And so the next guy up, who is the next guy up? Is it Travis Bell? And like I said, there's gonna be room for these guys everywhere. And this roster construction is far from over anyway. But
I mean, it's ever changing. But yeah, you're 100% right. You're 100%
absolutely. Right. But what else you got?
So let's do the same on the offensive side, right? When you look at some of the offense, again, look at the Blues, right? Like, look at the change here and where these guys have come from. Now, we've had to be way more aggressive in trades and free agency. I think this is probably the first time in my life, Shane, that we have 2 wide receivers that we traded for in the same year, basically to go improve this. Yep. When you look at where we were last year, there's no more Mustapher, there's no more Riley Reef. We're not trotting out EQ and Pettis and that awful running back David Montgomery. We're trotting out these new exciting. Oh, did I say that out loud? Sorry. Some of these new younger kids, and again, Cody Whitehair is probably the only one that's going to see significant play time that is over 30 years old.
Yeah.
Everybody else, you're talking 24, 25, 26 years old. Blasingame, I don't really worry too much about the age of a fullback, but these players are all sort of new and draft picks. Again, when you look at that draft pick heavy team, so the last part we'll just quickly go into to show is when you look at overall depth, everyone that is green has been added in the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, so it's the Ryan Poles effect, front and center.
Yeah, whether it is a draft or a free agency move, when you look at everything, when we sit back and go, man, how bad was it? You're talking 8 starters on offense,
right?
Or on defense. You're talking 6 new starters on offense. Your entire depth, everybody behind your starter, except for 2 players, has come in the last 2 years.
Right, and you look at those guys in black. I mean, Trevis Gibson could be gone next year. Jalen Johnson could be gone next year. Eddie Jackson could be gone. Kendall Vildor may be gone this year. Tevin Jenkins got to stay healthy and prove it on the field. Cody Whitehair, again, could be gone. Cole Kmet's got the extension. Mooney is going to have the chance to cash in. We'll see what happens. Herbert, Blasingame, Justin Fields isn't going to be going anywhere next year. And Larry Borum could be gone. So all of those guys that are in black cars, that's all going to turn over to almost all green, other than, we'll see what happens with Tevin. I think his arrow is pointed up. Cole Kmet's not going anywhere, obviously. Mooney and then Justin Fields, but beyond that, all those guys could be gone.
And to just take this like a step further, you look at the last 2 drafts, what we've had 8+ picks.
Yeah.
In each year for the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
We've not had that in the entire Pace regime. We never had that amount of draft capital on this team. And the simple fact that he has made the moves, even trading, trading draft picks to get guys to move up for a Tyreek Stevenson. In the old regime, moving up to get a Stevenson cost us 2 to 3 additional picks.
Right.
Now he's made moves to, like with the Carolina trade.
Absolutely.
That it stayed flat. So what we've really seen and what we could really take away from this is really 2 things. One, draft is the focus. This is going to be continual.
As it should be. Yep.
And it's the thing you and I have complained about most of our lives. If you do not build through the draft, if
Nope.
you are
Fool's
constantly
gold.
you are going to be great for a year and then it is going to bottom out.
You're going to be the Chicago Bears for the past 40 years.
You're going to be the Washington Redskins, right? Daniel Snyder spent more than anybody in free agency and never showed anything for it.
Yeah.
And the second thing we've learned is every player we've talked about, you watch the Meet the Rookies for Dexter and Pickens and Rashawn. These guys don't just like being football players. They
need it.
love the game.
They need
is
it.
Who they are to their core now. And so when you combine those two things, you're going to get a very passionate team who loves the game, who's going to be young. This builds us up if it's done right, and it's going to take time to figure that out. This builds us for a decade run of just a really good Super Bowl contending team if Justin Fields turns out to be the guy.
Yeah, and if you look back and then project forward, so Ryan Pohl's first draft in terms of, premium picks or, first, second, and third round picks, you consider those the premium picks overall, even more so the first and second rounders. But his first draft, he didn't have the first rounder because of the trade up that he didn't make acquiring Justin Fields, but he had the 2 second rounders because of the the one extra one from the Khalil Mack trade. So then this year, what does he have? He's got the 2 second rounders again. 2024, he's got 2 first rounders. You extend that all the way into 2025, you still have 2 second rounders. So his first 4 draft picks, or his first 4 drafts overall, he's going to be doubling up in either the first or second round every single year. And I would love to look back and see when the last time that run of 4 years having either double firsts or double seconds for the Chicago Bears. I bet you it's been a long, long time to have a 4-year run that way.
To even just have one of those years where you had that many draft picks to put into perspective, you've not done since 2009.
Yeah.
That is 14 years before we've added that amount of people in a single draft. And if you look at that and you go, I'm going to be really intrigued to see where Braxton Jones goes, right? Because so much of the offense is going to be predicated on him. But if you look at hey, listen, if we get a 5th round guy to be our starting left tackle, if Dominique Robinson, who seems to be really bendy and having a pretty decent flashy camp so far, is that guy, and then you add in Terrell Smith at the 5th round, who's competing with Tyreek Stevenson as a starting corner, their ability to get really good starters later on.
And don't forget about AJ Hicks, man. We talked about it with Herb Howard, and that's another guy that's having
Elijah,
a good camp. Elijah Hicks. My bad.
Noah Sewell is another name that, you watch these guys and where they are. Roshan Johnson, you could get a really good running back in the 4th round. So to have that capital, but still find guys that are minimally really good rotational players for your teams in the 5th, 6th, and 7th, and on the high end, plus starters for you. This is just, it's so weird to be talking about because we don't talk about this enough.
No, they've never done it the right way. I always look back. I remember, I think the Bears had the 4th pick in the draft, and they ended up trading down. Who was it with? Was it with the Jets? I think. Was that the Bernard? Not who was the Bernard Robertson or Dwayne Robertson? Yeah,
the Kentucky guy. And it was the Michael Haynes, Rex Grossman year.
Yeah, and it wasn't. They didn't even. Michael Haynes wasn't the target because that was the year that Minnesota pulled the
Kevin Williams.
Yeah, they wanted.
Yeah,
Chicago wanted Kevin Williams, which would have been awesome. But of course, we got the guy that didn't love football and loved his,
pet snakes,
spotted leopard, and his bird cage.
I thought he loved his pet snakes. Was what
that's
Michael Haynes
probably
was
what it was.
into. Yeah, it's just you know, I take a lot of flack for being kind of super positive and, like believing in this, but and it's hard because I think so many of us have been beaten down for so long that being a realistic Bears fan
Yeah.
feels like the way to be a realistic Bears fan is just to assume that everything is going to fail. Because it
Exactly.
has.
So used to it.
And so, when I look at trying to be positive with some realism, it's really more around I don't know if the guys are going to work out. I don't know if Flus is going to be the head coach that takes us the whole way, right? Is he probably most likely the guy that's, your
Placeholder,
fixer
yeah.
and to get onto that next guy? Absolutely. But like you look at the coaching staff that they've added, the way the guys talk about Chris Morgan, the wide receivers and Tyke Tolbert, who is a really well-respected voice.
Yep.
Claudio can think it was John Hoke as the defensive backs coach, who is always considered a fantastic player coach in the way that those guys get developed.
Yeah.
We have added all these guys with a focus on player development who have history of developing players in rosters. The difference between Castillo and Morgan is Castillo did a lot with proven guys.
Yeah.
He gets a lot of credit for who was the Philly guy who ended up or Buffalo guy, Peters.
Yeah.
Right? He took a lot of credit for
Jason Peters, yeah.
But all these other guys did it with less. And for all of my concerns, about the offensive line and how it shows and understanding that Fields is not at that level of quarterback, Cincinnati last year scored at will, threw the ball all over the place, while Joe Burrow was getting smacked around
destroyed
a ton.
Yeah.
And he's not as mobile as Justin. And, but their line is not as young. So there's even if the line is not perfect, even if these things aren't perfect, the talent ascends. If you've got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, you'll take a little bit extra pressure. Well, guess what? I take Chase and Higgins over R2, but if you go 1, 2, 3, 4, there's no doubt I'm taking the Chicago Bears roster 1 through 4 the
Totally
whole way.
agree. Yeah.
And that's the thing that we just don't see. We're young, we're fast, we're getting better. There's a lot of room to be excited. Allow yourself to be excited. Don't get stuck in just being it never works. It doesn't work. Because if you're there, you're not a fun fan. And I understand everyone's got reasons to be miserable and be nervous. I totally understand it. But this is not your Ryan Pace, Jerry Angelo, Phil Emery, Chicago Bears teams. This is different.
Yeah, the way they've built it, the roster construction in general, there's a plan and there's a backup plan, and they're sticking to it, and they're remaining patient.
There's a model.
Yeah. As much as I was excited about the Khalil Mack trade, I mean, we talked about this last week. It just was not the time.
No.
It was not the time, and it really hindered what they were potentially could have done moving forward. It just restricted you so much because they didn't have the plan in place to begin with. They had some pieces, but it wasn't consistent. I mean, because when they were drafting in the top of the draft, it was swing and miss, swing and miss, swing and miss, swing and miss. And then you got to Roquan, who, listen, I was a huge Roquan Smith fan, and I know people get tired of talking about it. To me, he never lived up to the massive expectations that I had for him as a Chicago Bear. I always was left wanting more, wanting to see more.
I don't know that he could have.
Yeah.
Because, again, because of how we feel about running backs and middle linebackers in this town, like the shadow of those positions are far too great. And Shane, you brought up the other point we should probably just end with is the point you made last week was the guys that we've signed in the past, it's a Robert Quinn 4 for 72 deal.
Yep.
Now it's a guy for a 2 for 20, a 3 for 30.
Yep.
Like deals and front loaded. So when they become problematic and if they aren't working, they can get rid of them. And the player's happy because they got the majority of their money up front. They're not doing these things.
And even then, it's
mortgaging.
guys that are 27
Yes.
years old, not guys that are 30 and 31 that listen, I know pass rushers age fairly well, but you're still flirting with fire. I mean, Robert Quinn, we saw the best of Robert Quinn, and then
one out of 3 years.
Then he literally fell off the cliff, and he's not with anybody right now, and we probably won't see him again. But
he had one good year out of 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he got paid a shitload for that third year, and it made 0 difference to the overall team.
Absolutely. So that's probably going to wrap up the Cars Keys portion of it. Cars and I have to get up and walk over to the other studio. So we're going to be off screen here just real quick. Hold tight and we'll be right back. See how fast and seamless that was?
Man. I mean, it's a thing of beauty.
It's almost like we know what we're doing, and Claudio and Ivan kept themselves on mute while they were talking there for a quick second. I'm not gonna lie, Claudio's still on mute.
Yeah, but it's fine. We'll just allow that to be. He's too busy being
frozen?
a man of the people.
No, he's good. No, he's good. He's not frozen, just on mute.
He's smelling his knuckles now, whatever the fuck that means. But he's
he
still
is-
on mute.
There he is.
Yeah, dude, I'm trying to. This computer or StreamYard, something is messing up. It's kicking me out, and it's just messing everything up on me. But no, you guys hit it out of the park. I mean, I said in the chat, like honestly, we're smarter after listening to you guys. Like the way you guys break that stuff down is amazing. So I hope everybody saw that. If you tuned in late or early, whatever, you got to tune in and check Cars Keys out. Great job, guys.
Can we clip that thing out so I can let my wife know that people think I'm actually intelligent and not just a
Just
giant
hand it to her.
douchebag?
She's got to be under the desk.
Oh yeah, honey.
Poor Steph. No, we wanted to switch it up here a little bit. I didn't, Cars and I kind of planned on doing this. We got like I said, family comes first, and we've all been doing our own thing, so we've been not as involved as we'd like to be here at TTNL, but I think we're getting close to ultimate go time, so things are going to be, hitting the fan, as they say, and we're going to be pushing out a lot of content and go as we do during the football season. I was just thinking about that. I'm like, oh, holy shit, this is almost here. You know what I mean? The preseason games are reduced, and then we get right into it, and it goes by, in a whirlwind. But I love it. That Ivan, I look back to, one of my favorite. I think Cars himself probably has the number one moment in TTNL history with the Bears are trading up moment.
Oh, yeah.
But beyond that, one of my most fun moments ever was spending it with Ivan, watching in the background the Colts and the Texans game in the final week of the season.
Oh, yeah.
And Phil didn't want to have anything to fucking do with it, and Ivan and I were losing our collective shit, wanting the number one pick in the draft, knowing how massive it would be and the options that it would, open up for us. And if people could have experienced that with us, it just shows, the true passion and how much it means to us. And, it made for a great off season, but that was definitely one of my favorite moments in TTNL history, Ivan. I'm sure you'd agree.
Oh, no doubt. And I mean, look what it led. It led to Darnell Wright, which ended up being Phil's favorite tackle.
Yeah.
At the draft. So I mean, it all worked out in the end.
Yeah.
So I like
to DJ Moore.
Oh yeah, and
Led
to
to
DJ
DJ
Moore
Moore.
too. I
Yeah.
can't forget that. But yeah, I mean, like, just thinking back and thinking how low that was. Like, I feel like right now I have no feelings of any type of low. I just feel like it's pointing up, and you just need to give it a little bit of time, man.
Isn't it weird to think about if that game doesn't happen and we don't have DJ Moore and we sat at pick 2 and we probably tried to trade down, but we wouldn't have gotten the guy. Like, the hardest part about this is we have so kind of casually moved into, DJ Moore is really good. And we don't talk enough about like how he sets the tone at practice, how dominant he has been at practice. And one of the things I cannot wait for is all these guys, all these divisional fans that keep talking like he's not that good. He's not that good. Don't worry. You're going to see. And
and
he was pretty good, and he had not very good quarterbacks thrown to him.
Absolutely, and I think a lot of people look at
still
DJ
was one of the top receivers in the league.
I think a lot of people look at DJ Moore, and I was talking to some family members over the weekend specifically about this that were trying to give me shit and saying, "Oh yeah, he's a nice receiver, but he's no AJ Brown, he's no Stephon Diggs or anything like that." But no, if you look at his numbers at the same point of when they moved, no, he was actually fucking better in a lot of ways. And when you take into consideration who was throwing him the ball, it says a lot. So you give him some consistency. I mean, you guys saw it, Claudio. You guys witnessed it. You can sometimes there's players out there that you don't even need to say anything. You just feel the presence by watching them. And right now, DJ Moore is that guy. I mean, has there been a breakdown of OTAs, of mini camp, or of training camp where you haven't read at least one thing like, wow, DJ Moore was out there? I mean, they're trying to spin it like, Justin Fields made a horrible pass, but DJ Moore brought it in, for a completion. Which, listen, that happens every single week in the NFL, but that's called a difference maker.
Well,
and they have one.
The interviews with the two of them where they're like, what was it that Justin said? He's made my life better since he got here. Like you can't put a value for a young quarterback on what that means to have that type of a player. Like all the 49ers fans love to talk about Brock Purdy. You don't think that having Ayuk and Debo and Kittle like makes a big difference?
McCaffrey
compared to Equinemius St. Brown, Dante Pettis, N'Keal Harry. Like, this is a thing.
Think about when the Bears made the trade with the Patriots for a 7th round draft pick to acquire N'Keal Harry. We were all excited. We're like, you take a flyer on that guy. And I actually, when he played, he got in there and made some plays. I was never anti N'Keal Harry. I don't know what he was like in the locker room. I don't know what he was like on the practice field or in the classroom, and that's a big part of your evaluation with these guys. But that was your talent acquisition at that position last year. That was your your big move. Yes, I know you went out and signed Byron Pringle again, but it's the difference between last year and this year in the talent acquisition is mind-boggling. It really is, and you're gonna see it pay off for Justin Fields. You really are. Are you gonna see it every single day in these early practices? No, there's going to be peaks and valleys, as there always is. They're not an established team, but they're going to get there. I feel great about making that statement. I'm not holding back and saying, oh, well, there's still, I'm not going to be one of those media members that are just going to paint a black picture just because, Justin Fields could go out there and throw 5 touchdowns in week 1, and the Chicago Tribune's cover story is going to be, well, what's he going to do in week 2?
Yep.
You know what I mean? There's not going to be anything. Now he's got to build off 5. Whatever.
He's got to hit
the way of the
6
world.
next week.
Yeah,
if he's not throwing 6 the week after, he's not
right. And if he
improving.
throws 6, they're going to say, well, Mitch did that against Tampa Bay. You know, you saw the Patrick Finley nonsense comparing Mitch's year 3 to Justin Fields' year 3, and it's a train heading into a volcano that you want to beat your head with reading all that stuff. But it's just like, come on, let's calm down, enjoy the process, because this process we've been talking about, they're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
It's not smoke and mirrors. It's not throwing $60 million to fix a hole that you fucked up in the draft. They're doing it the right way. They're doing it the way that they should have done it years and years and years ago.
And when you accumulate these picks, that's when you get to do a Philadelphia.
Yep.
You know, that they're going to be like, oh, you know, Tennessee, for whatever reason, thought Burks was going to be better than A.J. Brown and were willing to punt on him. When you've got extra draft capital, you're in those moves. That is how Miami gets Tyreek Hill. That is how these guys move. And so these little things that when you start to believe, you can get some really good players with the extra things that you've added, instead of you're doing it with things that you've added instead of mistakes that you've made and things that you've lost. And it's dealing from strength as opposed to desperation trying to fix a weakness. If we didn't have that first pick, it would have been desperation to try to fix the wide receiver room. We would have been walking in with Claypool and Mooney, and, you know, maybe we sit down and it was a Jackson and Jigba, you know, Smith and Jigba, and we would have tried to talk ourselves into that as opposed to what we have.
And there would have been a shit ton of fans that would have been elated with that. I remember the people banging the fucking drum for him at number 9. Not saying that he's not a nice player, but not under these circumstances. I would have been devastated.
Oh yeah,
had the Bears went there at number 9.
Oh, it would. It's so weird to be in a place where you're like, you would understand the move, totally get it, but it wouldn't be something that you're like, yep, this is the one. This is the one.
Yeah, well, we essentially came to consensus on Darnell Wright overall. You know what I mean? We were all very comfortable with that pick and understood the process that got them there.
Yeah.
But like you said, you go out and you make the move for DJ Moore, and you have Darnell Mooney coming up for a contract, and then you had given up a 2nd-round draft pick for Chase Claypool, and then you draft Jackson Smith and Jigba at number 9. That is Jerry Angelo type.
Yeah.
No blueprint, shot in the dark, whatever happens moving forward. And that's, to me, they're doing this the right way. Because I said, man, they're going to have so many options where they can go. I mean, one of the biggest things, and I happen to believe Justin Fields is going to be the guy. I think he's going to end up earning the contract extension here. But people are always saying, you know, with those 2 first-round draft picks, they've given themselves a backup plan if they don't. Well, they've also given themselves coverage if Braxton Jones doesn't take the step at left tackle. With those 2 first-rounders, you're gonna be staring. But it's not just him. There's 3. Yeah. There's going to be 3 guys very likely within the top 12 offensive tackles that are going to go. So you're going to be right there in that wheelhouse with one of those picks. I feel fairly confident on from Carolina. I know a lot of people are getting on their bandwagon. I can't get there with them.
I can't because of their wide receiver core.
Yeah.
I really, you know, I think Mingo is an intriguing guy, but I just don't think he's going to make that change the first time. So yeah, I don't think that they're going to be in the running for the first pick. I don't know. I sort of have this weird feeling that that's going to be a Raiders thing through and through with the way this whole thing has transpired to date.
Yeah, it's
But
going to be hard not to put Arizona up there with them having theirs and Houston's.
I mean, yep.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't think that's realistic, but I think you're right. Top 10, and you're looking at what? You're looking at Fashanu, you're looking at Marvin Harrison Jr., you're looking at...
I know Joe was asking if he's there. Yeah, if he's there at number 9, you run to the fucking podium. But I'll put my money down right now. He's the 3rd pick overall
after the 2
in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
Mark it down, and I'm putting that shit in stone.
After Caleb and after May, it's him.
Done.
And
done. He's that fucking good. Yeah, I know anything can happen. If it could be a catastrophic injury, and I hope it doesn't. I watched Marvin Harrison's father be an amazing wide receiver here in Syracuse, watching him play, and I said, these guys are so different, just in body structure, and I mean, kid's gonna be a absolute superstar. Marvin Harrison, number 3 pick in the draft.
Do you think he'll be better than his dad?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Just the way that he is, man. He's gonna be. I mean, Claude, he's going number 2 or number 3, and if he was in this draft, I mean, I think it would have been a whole different ball game for the Bears if he was available in this.
They would not have traded
draft.
out. He would have gone number 1 overall. Yeah. Like he's
I've seen tape. He's obviously legit, but
he's a plus route runner. He's got tremendous body control.
Yeah.
I think he dropped 3 passes all of last year while being the guy. And he did all of this, when, it was supposed to be in Jigba's team, he couldn't come through. That offense played better when it was going through him than it did the prior year. It's incredible to watch because if in a last year, Harrison is your number 1 pick and you don't bat an eye. You run to the podium.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, if you're putting money down in Vegas, he's going number 3 after Williams in May. Go 1, 2. I'd put literally any amount of money down on it right now and feel very, very, very good about it.
I would rather Harrison over May. I'm going to be interested to watch his season a little bit. I think he's one of those
There's
guys
a lot of people out there, and I'm not there, but I know legitimate people that I trust and know are very, very smart that are in on May over Caleb Williams, and I'm not there.
Both of them have
question
marks. Caleb's mental state, I don't know how else to say it. Like when he was putting the stuff on his fingernails and all of that, like you really worry about that. And May's consistency. So do you bet on one over the other? I don't know, but I would laugh to see, to your point, if Arizona ends up with the 1st pick overall and they've got to find a taker for Kyler Murray. You can't write it like, be so thankful that offseason you are not a Cardinals fan and just sit back and laugh as you watch them try to unload it for fractions of a penny on the dollar.
Yep, absolutely. Oh man, I'm just so glad football's back and we have.
I know. First game tomorrow.
I know.
Game.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, how great is it? What other sport can you get like that excited about? Just a mundane Hall of Fame, game on a Thursday night, and
Jets and Browns.
Right.
You're gonna watch. You're gonna watch just some shitty football, and we're all gonna eat it up.
Oh, but I was gonna say, but everybody's gonna be watching.
Damn right.
Yeah,
Damn right.
You're gonna be like, who's the guy behind Deshaun Watson? And you're gonna see Zach Wilson. I mean, Zach Wilson is gonna get his only start of the season probably tomorrow night, and
yeah,
you're
gonna see number 2 overall pick.
You're gonna see Rodgers in a full Jet uniform.
Yeah.
God, I wonder if he's going to be on the Ayahuasca.
Well,
during that game.
maybe they'll just dress. I don't know. I don't know if he's got like this. We want to protect you, so we're not gonna even dress
no way
you type
he's
of
playing
thing.
that
Oh,
game.
Yeah, so he might be in street clothes, but you'll see.
I mean, it would make
sideline.
no sense. What is he? 39? Is he 39 years old?
No, I thought he's 40.
Is he 40 now?
Yeah.
But either way, 39 or 40, you ain't playing him on a preseason game. Number one, no way. That makes
he's still
0
39.
sense.
December he'll be 40.
Okay.
Yep. So he's still an asshole, no matter what age he is.
Yeah, I'm just glad I don't.
I like
have
to
to
say
deal with
douche. More of a douche.
Douche.
than an asshole. Yeah.
Hey, Claude, show him the signature.
Oh yes, I was gonna do it in my shout outs, but
Oh my!
that's
My bad. I jumped
that's
the gun.
okay. It's all right. I'll do it.
My bad.
That's my man Mooney. First day
Ivan
there.
premature again.
How many children were injured in acquiring it?
No children. Listen, I was a gentleman. I made sure all the kids in front of me got their
He actually used one of the little kids to beat other kids.
Yes.
with
Yeah,
speed,
right.
Grabbed him by the ankle.
And that little girl was upset. Trust me.
She'll get over it though. She'll get over it.
Yeah, Claudio wasn't wearing a TTNL shirt. He had a "fuck them kids" shirt on when he was in line for me.
Yeah, me and Ray from the tailgate guy. That guy.
Oh yeah, right.
Oh
Jeez.
yeah, beat the
Hey,
shit
me
out
and
of
him
that
were-
kid.
Yeah, fuck out of here.
I had him just clearing the way from me.
How old are you? 4? I don't give a fuck. Fuck
Yeah.
out of here.
I don't care what DCFS says. You're old enough to
Right.
walk. I could beat your ass. Let's go.
Where is the librarian tonight? We didn't hear from him, Mr. Jackal.
He's probably lost in a book.
Probably. Oh man, I don't know. Are we gonna have the shortest keeping it 100 in history?
That sounds good.
That sounds amazing.
We could. It was a special one with Cars Keys.
Yeah,
coming
the
out,
Cars
so,
Keys
know.
coming on.
You know, I mean, people won't be upset about it. I don't think.
Phil's gonna tune in and be like, "All right, I'm gonna lean back and watch the last 2.5 hours of the show. We're gonna shout outs at 10:27."
Static.
What the fuck? No,
Oh,
but
so
no.
glorious.
But just let's wrap it up here before we get into shout outs. Go right around the room. Cars, start with you. Go right around the horn. What do you want to see next? I mean, what is the on your list of things that you want to see in these preseason games, from a specific player even?
I think for me, the biggest one is to watch the Tyler Scott development because I think his role as the number 4 wide receiver, the more he cements that, the better off that we're going to be. Like we talked a lot about speed, but his speed is next level. Like it is beyond. And so seeing the way that they want to leverage him, he's had a lot of good fights in camp, against different guys. Just seeing his performance to me, because as good as Moore is and those other guys, if you can take it one step further and add that 4th body, it's a game changer. So that's really what I'm looking for.
Nice. Yeah, I mean,
You're
I'm
muted, Shane.
Jesus. Claudio threw me off my game. Cool, real quick. We did a YouTube instant premiere opening what time did we start at?
It was
8:20.
10 minutes before the show.
8:20 p.m. So yeah, we unveiled it on YouTube to the masses, and it was a smashing success and awesome job.
We could play at the close too. So
yeah, we could do that. That could be our take it out. So we essentially started the show with it at 8:20, and then we can get that part of it ready, and we'll close it out that way. But Claudio, what's on your list of things that you want to see next?
I'm really interested in seeing our running back situation. I mean, Roshan Johnson didn't practice. I don't think he practiced today either. But the 2 practices I was there, he wasn't practicing. But he was the first guy on the field, though. We walked in there at like 9 something, and he was out there catching balls, doing what he can do. So that was nice to see. And obviously, there's some hype with him. But I mean, losing Montgomery was our biggest loss. And so we got to see who's going to step up.
That was a
one
gain.
of our, what's that?
That was a gain. That's actually an improvement.
Okay.
Sorry.
Well, arguably one of our big.
Not only are these motherfuckers shutting off the show early, they're picking on my boy.
No, I think, I mean, my prediction, I mean, Roshan, I'm sure will be good. I think Foreman is going to step up. I like him a lot, but we'll see. But I mean, if what's happening with our passing game starts clicking, and then we have a running game, now we're cooking with gas. So
yeah, Ivan Vargas.
Yeah, man. Offensive line, but in particular the run game. I need, and like Claude said, you want to see Roshan Johnson. He's been leading by example every time, like the 2 times me and Claude were there and today. But you want to see them start opening up holes. You want to see, Nate Davis and Jesus, I'm forgetting his name. Why am I blanking?
Tevin?
No, not Tevin.
Darnell Wright.
Darnell Wright. Thank you. And Darnell Wright. Pancake, like you guys were talking about. You want to see them bust open holes. You want to see them put linebackers on their ass. And that's what I'm excited about. I need to see a little bit of that in preseason. Not a whole lot. And I know you're paying attention to backups as well and guys who need to be or who might be a part of the team as a depth piece. But I'm looking at the offensive line as a whole in the run game. Can they move people? Start moving bodies.
Cherie, what are you looking forward to seeing?
So a lot of people are kind of mentioning it in the.
Can't mention Thomas Jones. He's been retired for way too long, Cherie.
But I see.
Cherie's happy. I'm happy.
I see a lot of people talking about it in the chat. So I mean, I think because it was so much disappointment that they didn't sign like a big name defensive edge. Yeah. I just want to see what we have on the roster and who's going to emerge as that that
Lewis. Terrell Lewis, somebody tried telling you.
So okay,
just
well,
gotta stay healthy.
No. But yeah, that's what I want to see. I want to see which D step up.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm right there with you. That's where I was gonna go. We talked about Terrell Lewis, kid that I watched at Alabama, and he. If you look at him, you're like, yep, that's what you want at defensive end. He's the dude that you want to get off the bus first. He's one of those guys. And the story is, are you going to stay healthy? That's the thing that holds him back. And hey, part of roster construction is sometimes getting lucky with guys like that. He was a 3rd round draft pick with the Rams, couldn't make the club in the tub, always nicked up. Bears took him and gave him some time to get ready, and hopefully that continues because he's a name that you've been hearing pop in, these training camp settings. Obviously not pads every day, but still it's you want to see these guys. And number one, I'm going to be fixated on watching some of these guys at edge to see what they do and see what type of impact they can make. Because listen, you got to get after the quarterback. You can't just generate pressure by blitzing guys, and that's
through coverage.
Yeah, that's not what Flus is. That's not what Flus does. He did it more last year, probably out of necessity because he didn't have any guys. So it's going to be interesting. But Terrell Lewis, man, get out there and do it. If you can do it in Chicago, you certainly have a wide open range in front of you with not many people that are going to be taking any reps. You stay healthy, you certainly have the talent to do it. But that being said, I think we're going to wrap up here. We'll get into the shout outs real quick. Wrap it up that way, and then we'll close out the show with the dope video that Cool Kennedy made and that we debuted. Ivan put it up as a YouTube instant premiere, and those things are always fun. We did one last night with Claudio and Ivan talking about day 2 in pads. Cherie almost lost her shit and thought that we were going live and was trying to figure out what the fuck was going on. But yeah, let's get it.
Shout out Tape Never Lies.
Shout
Shout out. I know you hear me, baby. Shout out. I know you see me, baby. Shout out. We gotta holla at you. Keep it 100 crew. Gotta show love too. Shout out. I know you hear me, baby. Shout out. I know you see me, baby. Shout out. We gotta holla at you. Keep it 100 crew. Gotta show love too. From the fans in the stands to the follows on the gram. Thanks for your support, showing love in the DM. We stay Spencer strong, fight together till the end. Now it's time to shout out worldwide friends and fam. Like
the network that keeps it real, 100 crew. So many in the world that I gotta show love to. For some this policy, the show is at its end. But for me it's so important to thank the charter members and the fans. Built the network, speak the truth through the tape. Never run around the truth, no narratives we create. Set them straight, no bubble screen on 4th and 8. Audio Jane getting nervous cause keeping them up too late. That's it, no more to say they get the shot of vital. But hurry up cause the postman's getting homicidal. Shout out.
I know you hear me, baby. Shout out. I know you see me, baby. Shout out. We gotta holla at you. Keep it 100 crew. Gotta show love too. Shout out. I know you hear me, baby. Shout out. I know you see me, baby. Shout out. We gotta holla at you. Keep it 100 crew. Gotta show love too.
The network that keeps it real. Sense is strong.
I got. Hey, we're back.
We'll clean that up in post. It's fine.
Absolutely. Let's get us up here on the screen and go around the horn. We're going to start with ladies first tonight. Cherie, you ready to go?
Sure.
Shout outs?
Sure. No special reason or anything, but I do just want to shout out my parents. I've kind of thought about all the stuff that they've overcome, and granted they weren't perfect, but they both have been there for me in a way that I appreciate. You know, I never felt unloved, so I really just want to shout out my mom and my dad, because I don't talk about him a lot, but he's crazy, he's fun, he's a great dad, works hard. So I do just want to give some love to them, because I know with everything they've overcome, they still were awesome parents to me, even though they were separated. They co-parented, but I never knew the tension or whatever drama was going on between them. They both just let me know that I was loved. So that's why I'm so spoiled now. But just
she had like 4 Barbie dream houses, this girl growing up.
Barbie had everything. So so no, just shout out to them for being awesome despite all the obstacles that they faced in their own lives, but still being great parents. So love you, Mom, love you, Dad. And of course, shout out to you guys. Cars, you know, I love the Cars Keys show. So I was nice just watching in the background, seeing you guys.
Just as long as I'm your favorite Carstensen, and it's not my wife anymore.
You're going to have to take a number to get under that desk. There's already somebody under there.
I cannot say that, Cars. You know I love Steph. So.
Dang it.
That's my girl. But no, just it was nice getting a preview of that. So I hope you guys sign up for the Patreon to see that show when it debuts during the season. And just fun night as usual. Wednesdays I look forward to. So thank you guys for all doing what you do and making this a fun night.
I love Cherie's mom.
Well, thanks, Phil. That's nice. I'm not going to shout out Cherie's parents. I'm going to shout out with all the ladies that work with Cherie's mom, because they all love me. So Ivan Vargas.
Yeah, man. First and foremost, shout out Claudio the barber up there, man. Had a great time the past couple of days, bro. Had a blast. Shout out to you guys. I mean, it's always fun every Wednesday night coming out and talking ball. Everybody that gave us tickets, George M, and I'm blanking on the name, Mike or Nick.
Nick's Stiglick.
Nick Stiglick, and which is actually a cool name, Nick Stiglick.
Great name.
You were just making fun of it before the show.
That's a lie.
You can say
That's a
that.
lie.
I've never heard Shane lie a day in my life.
Does sound
Or
like a porn name.
exaggerate?
Does-
No, that
does
doesn't
sound
sound
like a
like
porn
doesn't lie. It sounds like a
But also shout out to everybody on the bus that had to go ahead and hear me put somebody in their place. So
Go ahead, tell the story real
Now
quick.
we need the story.
all right, man. So I was sleeping on this bus, and like Claudio's next to me and everything, and like there was this woman. She's obviously drunk, but I was like, all right, cool, whatever. I'm sitting in front of her. I'm sitting next to her. I'm not like afraid of her, none. And then these douchebags behind us decided to like break one of their plastic bats. Like it's like a bat bottle, like a whatever, a cup from the game. So they broke it. It almost hit me. It flew past my head and then flew past her. Well, she starts cussing them out. Long story short, she starts whistling like the loudest fucking whistle I've ever fucking heard, dude. And I'm just trying to take a nap. Like, I'm just trying to sleep. I mean, I asked her nicely, Claudio. Did I not ask her nicely the first time?
Yeah, the first time. Then you told her not nicely about 10 times after that.
And then I proceeded to call her out of her name until we got to her exit, which is like about a block away from mine.
I never said.
Claudio, you're muted. Did you mute yourself? What's going on?
He did. He muted himself to tell the moral of the story, I think.
The moral of the story is never give
Here's
Claudio
the most
a hot
I did,
mic.
I did not mute myself. I'm telling you, there's something with StreamYard when you play a
Here's
video.
the most
you play it
important part of the story.
So what are you gonna say, Claudio?
No, what I'm gonna say is you turned into the fucking Hulk. That's what I fucking was gonna say.
I did not beat anybody on the bus.
No,
I just
no, you
made
did
sure
not.
that
It
she
was-
knew.
yeah,
I
it
just
was-
made sure that she sternly knew. Please do not whistle. at
But
the
this
top
is the other
of
thing for me.
whatever-
That was my first time on a city bus, like anywhere ever, and that was
Oh,
my
really?
experience. Yeah, I'd never been on a city bus before.
Well, he wasn't. Have you been on the train before?
Yeah.
Oh, I've been on trains. Yeah, I've never been on a
Because
city bus.
we saw a couple of interesting characters on the train as well.
Yeah,
But-
we
Well,
did.
well, but
that's
I've
for
been-
another day. That's for another.
You
day.
never
never been
going-
on a city
This
bus.
is Chicago.
Well, wait, you're worried
I've
that
never been. No, I've
first
been on-
class Furnicola has not been on a bus, and
that's
some of
true.
you folks
Yeah.
are shocked right now.
Yeah.
Like,
Wait,
how,
wait. I
how
did
is
not-
this a
I'm not
thing?
like, fuck,
How
I'm
is
not-
this a thing? First
I'm
class
not, like, rich or
Furnicola.
anything, but I live in a town. I never needed to use the bus. I've always had a ride, or I had a car. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I never had to use the bus. So, yeah.
And I grew
So-
up in a house where nobody had a driver's license, so that's all we did.
Oh,
was
well.
really good.
But I'll tell you this: that everybody else on the bus, they got a laugh out of it, and the bus driver was cool.
Oh no! Wait,
wait a minute,
I'll tell. No, I'll
Okay,
tell this.
okay,
The
Clark,
best
go ahead.
part of this is he's yelling at her and telling her to be quiet, and she's
I
like,
wasn't telling her to be quiet.
well, whatever. You were just telling her to calm down or whatever you were saying. to her,
I was
whatever.
telling her to shut the fuck
She
up.
goes.
You
She
can
goes.
tell me what to
She goes.
I was telling her to shut the fuck up. You can tell the truth, Claudia.
She go. Yeah, and when you said that to her, she's like, "The bus driver's my son." We're like, "What?" I see the guy's arm. She was a white lady. I see his arm. He was a black man. I'm like, okay, I don't think that's her son. But
Yeah.
whatever. And
I took a
so she
genetics
gets-
class.
So
Yeah.
wait. This is the best part. When she gets up and starts leaving, she goes to the bus driver, all upset. Why didn't you say you were my son? And she fucking
Oh,
walked
boy.
out. It was hilarious. Oh my god, it was. I mean, it was crazy. It was good, but it was fun. It was a
How
fun
many
night.
how many naps have you taken on the bus over the years, Ivan?
I've taken a couple, but it's usually like very, very like touch and go. Like if I'm
Yeah.
tired, like I'm just like I got one eye open, but fuck, or I'm usually close to the driver if I'm like nodding.
So was this more so alcohol induced nap or was
Yeah,
it
man.
more so
Fuck,
just
like, me and Claudio, as soon as we left training camp, we went down to Wrigley.
Sure, we
and
left
were
it.
just
We had a
like-
beer at 9:30.
Yeah, we had a beer at 9:30. Yeah, that's right.
Wait,
So, yeah,
Shane,
that's
the,
right, that's
the
right.
guys who forgot to record a video the first day they were at
Yes.
camp may have
Yes.
overserved themselves?
Yeah.
Who knew? Like, who
I'm
knew?
like,
what are the odds? What
know,
are the
I
it-
looked
these-
down.
these
I looked
things
down. And
just
I'm like, how's TTNL's Twitter feed streaming practice right now? And I'm like, oh, for Christ's fucking sake! So I had to pull over. And I'm like, guys, you can't fucking stream practice from our Twitter feed. All I got back was okay, it's deleted. Oh, cars. Or no, who's up? Claudio, you done? Yeah, Jesus.
I'll go.
My bad.
I'll shout out. Yeah, it's all right. Were you done, Ivan? I'll shout out everybody.
He's gonna take a nap. Leave him alone.
Don't anybody throw anything near his head. All right.
So you ready? Shout out Nick, the guy with the tickets, but Jose, Joe, Mike, Bradley, the patrons that came with us. It was a good time with you guys. I'm gonna shout out Braggs, Greg Braggs. We were chilling with Braggs in the stands, and he was,
Oops. Sorry. Don't know how that happened.
See, Cars has administrator access now. So he can do that. Now you know where your mute problems are coming from tonight.
There it is.
You don't mention that name. I'm not muting you.
I gotta be Switzerland. That's why I'm a barber. That's why I'm the mayor. I gotta be cool with everybody.
I'm not smart.
Anyway, so gonna shout out Cool Kennedy also for coming by. Cool Kennedy chilled on Tuesday, and he was the reason I got to the buses in time because we drank a little bit too much on Monday night, and Ivan didn't get to me in the morning to pick me up, but it's all good. Shout out.
I got there later.
Yeah, he got there later. Yeah,
eventually.
But and then shout out to George McCaskey. So I don't know if people saw, he was in the stands. He came at the end of the practice, came in the stands with all the fans, was just sitting there. Most people didn't even know who he was, right? And I went over to him. I was talking to him a little bit. I was like, George, I got to say, you guys, you're doing the right thing with the Warren, with Poles, with Flus. You're doing the right thing. And he's like, yeah, you're welcome. Thanks. Whatever. He was agreeing with me.
Don't fuck it up, George. That's what you should have said.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
We've been waiting too long.
I was like, you come here down to the stands a lot. He's like, sometimes. And then he looks over at the players because the players were looking, were signing autographs. He's like, I got to make sure the players are signing autographs. That's what I'm here for. So
that's cool. Yeah, you like to see that.
Yeah, that was cool. I gotta say that was cool. He was being a fan in the stands.
You walked with him straight to Darnell Mooney, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, did you use George McCaskey to be
the chairman kids? Said you have to sign this, Darnell. You want that extension, asshole?
That's great. Oh shit. Yeah, so there you go. Shout out and shout out everybody else that I didn't mention that I met and over there. It was awesome. It's a good time.
That lady right there. You don't want to mention your girl, Claude?
My girl, who?
Aww.
Oh, that was the girl. That was the lady that was whistling in Ivan's ear while he.
Oh wait!
I didn't tell you how old she was.
I do have to do a shout out real quick. My daughter Alicia, my little one, she made the cheer team. She never did cheerleading ever. She made the competition.
Congrats!
Who's doing this?
That's not me.
This is not me.
It wasn't me. Swear to. There he is.
No.
Okay.
Go ahead.
My hands up in the air.
I'm telling you, when you guys play a drop, it puts me on mute, and there's a delay.
Huh?
Interesting.
I don't know. It's weird.
Sounds like a you problem. All right. What's going on?
Anyways, okay. Yeah. Real quick. My daughter, she tried out for the cheer team. Never did cheerleading. She made the competition team. She's going to be one of the flyers, and the coach says she's a natural, so I want to shout her out. She's really excited.
That's awesome.
What's a flyer?
Flyer's the one that they throw up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And she's all about it. She loves it.
These drops are out of hand today. I'm letting StreamYard know as soon as we're off air, Claude.
Congrats to her, Claude.
Yeah, that's a big one. Congratulations.
Yes, happy. So I'm happy.
Matthew Karstensen.
Shit, I'm
my
in trouble.
second favorite cars.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in post. Dale, listen, I wanna shout out the crew that's right here on the screen with me. This is a wonderful group of individuals. when you start doing this and you start kind of working with people, you never know who you're going to work with and the quality of the character of those folks. And what you're seeing outside of myself is 4 really high quality human beings. And so I really enjoy being able to see you and work with you and give all of you a tremendous amount of shit for no apparent reason. But that's just how I do it. So thanks to each and every one of you. I really appreciate you.
Oh, we love you too,
Thanks,
Cars.
About time he was nice to me. Tell you.
And Ivan was right. You are the smartest man, actually.
Yes. It is true. It is true. I tell myself that every day.
Somebody has to.
I wish more people in this house thought that, but you know. I'm gonna keep mine simple. I'm gonna shout out my kids, Riley and Emerson. Emerson's a little bit under the weather. I was at work today. Was just leaving. I was on the phone with Mr. Vargas, and then I looked down and got another phone call when I was just getting off the phone with him saying that Emerson was running a fever, so I had to go handle that. She's not feeling too great, and like I said, they're going to be taking off from Daddy here a week from this Friday. Yeah, so they got about another week, and then they're going to be gone for 3 weeks, so I'll be flying solo. So they both know they're the center of my world and my existence, and I love them both, even though they could both be pains in the ass sometimes, but they always know no matter what, Daddy loves them and Daddy will always be there. So they get my shout outs tonight, and they both deserve them, and I love them very much.
Nice. Mic drop.
Party at Shane's house in 2 weeks.
Damn right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Want to drop that, Ivan? Or do you want me to?
Are we ready to go?
Yeah, we'll wrap it up there. We'll see you guys next week, and we're gonna roll the video that Cool Kennedy produced for us and take it out that way. This is Cool Kennedy Productions at its best.
How about 12? How about 12? Bobby will make the Bobby over here.
Playmaking standpoint from the record here,
Going to tell you.